I'm just going to go without the whole presentation thing, and I can pretend this was all planned, and I can quote Steve Jobs, who said people who use PowerPoints don't know what they're talking about, but that's not the case. My laptop's just messed up right now. So what Change Investments is it's an effort to combine a couple of concepts. First, investing in something that provides positive social change, and then making it easier to invest, because there's 75 million millennials in the United States, and almost none of them are investing. About 26% of millennials are actively investing, whereas in older demographics, you see 54+% investing. Yourself, why aren't they investing? Because that's a lot of people that should be investing, as they have 40 years until they're going to retire. Now, there are three main reasons. The first is they don't have enough money, because a lot of companies like TD Ameritrade will have a minimum account balance of $500, $1,000, $3,000, and that's a lot of money to set aside when you're a broke college student who can barely afford ramen, to hopefully invest and make money further down the road. The second reason is they don't know how, and the third is they don't trust financial advisors. And the second reason is really easy to address by not investing in the stock market, which sounds difficult to do and sounds really sketchy, but there are lots of great ways to do it. And that one of them is what we leverage, which is investing in microfinance, which is investing in people in developing countries who are starting small businesses, like someone in Kenya who has been sewing clothes for their family and their village for 15 years, has a sewing machine break down and needs a $300 loan. Now, when one of our clients makes that loan, as it gets paid back, they make money on that interest. And this sounds like a horrible investment, but the repayment rates are through the roof, and in fact, rival mortgage repayments, and everyone pays the mortgage. And that's for a variety of reasons that were discovered by the man who started the Grameen Bank in the 1980s. So not only are we investing in this awesome, great opportunity that allows us to change someone's life, but it's an investment that's been around since the 80s, and it's actually won the Nobel Prize for economics. And the returns on this are through the roof. You see investments that have 10+% returns each year through these microloans. And not only are you generating such great returns, but you're changing someone's life. So that's the approximate market. There's 75 million millennials that we are targeting, and microfinance industry globally, $78 billion fee. And they are super inefficient right now because there are government entities that will give them money, and that is very cheap to acquire those funds. However, government entities can only cover so much of the market. And so then they have to go to commercial banks. And commercial banks charge ridiculous rates, 8–10% to get the money. And that's pretty ridiculous, which means even outside of some of these great investments, when we offer our clients a loan with 7% interest rate, we're actually giving a 12.5% reduction on the interest rate to the end loan, to the end borrower, which means we are able to give them a 12.5% discount on their loans. So just to quickly recap, we are helping millennials invest by reducing the minimum account balance to effectively zero. Loans to, they don't invest in Wall Street, rather they make loans to people in developing countries, so they're able to basically change someone's life with your investment. Now, the final little thing that we do that we use to make this a bit more interesting is we mimic the roundup feature that Acorns and the Bank of America and others have used. So if you go and you buy a cup of coffee for $2.33, we will invest automatically the remaining 67 cents, round that up to even $3, and so your account grows and grows and grows. And that adds about, on average, $1.40 a day, about $511 a year that is then invested into these phenomenal loans that offer double-digit returns. That pretty much covers it. I'm currently the person working on it. I handle pretty much everything. I've taught myself how to program, so we have what is very close to a working prototype. There's just some problems that we have, like security, because you can't teach yourself web security in 90 days. It's something that requires years and years and years to learn. And so I don't claim to be a security expert, because that's how you get sued, because it's a very difficult thing to do. And so then that's effectively an overview of the company, just so we have as much time on the Q&A as possible, because that's really what this is about. Then I know that, let's see, yeah, that pretty much covers it. We, right now, as we stand, are working on the prototype, and that's just an app, because millennials love apps, because that's really the best way to make this happen because you don't want to have to be restricted to desktop computers. So building a mobile app right now, and I think that's about it. So we can just get the Q&A rolling.
All right, great. If you have a question, let me know and I'll come bring this.
All right, can you tell us a little bit about the partnership that you have? I imagine you're not going out and finding people to loan to. Like, who are you partnering with and how does that relationship work?
So we're working with, the term is an MFI microfinance institution, and there are a couple. We're diversifying geographically. So there's one in Indonesia named Amartha Microfinance we're working with, and they function on a peer-to-peer system. So that way, when you make the loan, you're making a loan directly to someone, and so that reduces the legal trouble because we initially had a problem of figuring out how to legally structure it. But if it's a peer-to-peer market, then it's a lot easier to not have to deal with the SEC's various regulations. And by going through an MFI, we don't have to personally vet each investor because we really don't know how. You can't use a FICO credit score in Indonesia. However, they have years and years of experience doing this, and so we are working with them in a peer-to-peer setting, and they shave 1% off of each loan, and that's where they take home their money, and then we can offer those loans directly to our users.
I'm sorry if I missed this, but where does your financial model come in for the company that you're creating for change investors? Because I can see the advantage to the investors themselves and to the millennials who are investing with this spare change investment, but where does your monetization come in?
So we charge, so the first year is free because if you charge really any amount on such a small account, they are losing money, and because of compound interest, that costs thousands and thousands of dollars. And then going forward from there, it's a percentage, like a normal management fee on something like an ETF. And so that's where we make our money.
I can talk really loud. You don't have to. What's your marketing strategy?
So we are implementing a referral program. So if you refer someone to Change and they join, you each get a loan rate in your name, and then you take home that interest. And so that's to try and spur word of mouth, because we hope that we have a good product that you already want to tell your friends about, and that's just the incentive to push you to do that. Then we are also looking at online advertising because it can be really cheap and effective to access millennials. So like YouTube video ads or Google search results, and then obviously search engine optimization to get some organic marketing.
Why should I choose you over Kiva, for example? What is your greater value?
Kiva is purely charitable, and because of inflation and the risk of loss of loans, you actually lose on average 4%. Whereas with us, you're making money, and so not only do you get to change someone's life like you do with Kiva, but you're also making a bit of money on the side.
What's your percentage? What's that called? Interest. There we go. What's the interest for the end consumer?
So it depends on the loan and the creditworthiness of the person, and so it ranges anywhere from 8 to 10+%. Some of the highest loans that we've seen are 15%. Those are just, we haven't made any loans yet. However, those are loans that we're partnering with the MFIs to characterize so that we can start to develop statistics and history of what types of loans we're working with.
And like microloans have a history of some of the biggest lenders like SKS in India, if you're familiar with them, they tanked because what they were implementing to hold people accountable was didn't make lenders happy on this end. Some pretty intense ways of holding people accountable because they didn't have collateral. Do you know the practices of the MFIs too?
Yeah, so Amartha, we're partnering with 2 MFIs right now in Indonesia, and Amartha uses traditional methods where to make a loan, you have to be referred by somebody who's already successfully paid back a loan. And so that person who personally knows you, in theory, trusts you enough to put their history on the line to say, this person, I know they will pay back. And the other one that we're working with is called Provo, and they use collateral that they physically hold in their offices with a minimum of 85% LTV. So even if they completely default on the loan, then you're going to need something to go really, really wrong for you to not get your money back, because there's a 15% margin on their collateral. You still pay back everything they owed you. And Provo is newer. They've only been around for 3 years, and so their statistics aren't as meaningful. However, Amartha has been around for 8 years, and they have yet to have a single loan completely default. They've had 0.01% of their loans are being paid back 30 plus days late, but nothing has 100% defaulted. They've always collected. Yeah.
So you've talked about how you're going to mitigate the risk of millennials not having any money to invest. How are you going to mitigate the general distrust of financials? Because right now, as a result of growing up after the 2008 market crash and having all of our parents get totally screwed, we all hate financial planners. We all hate the stock market. And we all realize it's risky. It can be to mitigate that risk.
So that's one of the best parts is we're not going through anyone on Wall Street. We're avoiding that altogether. And so like Acorns, they try to do
But I'm meaning the general
just the
perception
general
as
distrust.
for you as a financial planner.
So when you look at millennials and why they would be interested in this, they're actually more interested in the concept of helping people out. That's why Kiva is successful. And so in our marketing strategies, we are going to lead with, you're going to change someone's life. And so as money accumulates in your account, you may get a notification that says, you've got $15 in your account to invest. Whose life do you want to change today? And then a side effect of all of this is making the money. So we're not marketing as much as a financial planner as we're allowing you to change people's life and you're making money from it. And so we're trying to use that to mitigate that risk.
So how do you intend to compete with groups like Kickstarter or GoFundMe that are doing essentially the same thing? But
So
here in the United States,
with
and you
Kickstarter,
actually get a product in return. Sorry.
no, that's fine. With Kickstarter and GoFundMe, you're looking not as much at someone who's living on $2 a day, who just had their sewing machine break down or their house burn down from a lightning strike, something along those lines that needs this money to put food on the table for their families. A lot of the times, Kickstarter or GoFundMe is someone trying to start a business that they tend to grow to a very large size, and they're just looking for initial capital. Whereas with these very, very small businesses, there's something that simple like sewing clothes or weaving bamboo baskets. And so it's really addressing a completely different market than the type of people who are investing in Kickstarter and GoFundMe.
Still looking at millennials who have very little cash who are investing in a crowdfunding type site. So I see Kickstarter, GoFundMe, all of those as an indirect competitor, not necessarily direct.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware.
All right, thank you. And then, right?
Yeah, I just wondered, do you happen to have information on some of the businesses who use these loans and been successful and have stories that you share so that people can see how it's working?
Yeah, so that's going to be one of our biggest marketing tools is this idea of this is the story that comes out of your investment. And we don't, because we haven't made any loans to our service because it is just in the prototyping phase, we don't personally have those stories. However, since this has been around since the 1980s in many markets from India to Eastern Europe to Southeast Asia, there are tons and tons of stories of people who have been able to keep putting food on the table because maybe something happened that they couldn't account for. And because they're living on less than $2 a day, this was really their only option. And now they're able to grow this business that's able to put food on the table and pull them their families out of poverty.
I'm wondering, what is what do you anticipate being the deliverable from the lessee or from the person receiving the loan in order to document that story moving forward? How do you, what is the cultural deliverable on there, or how do you document that?
Actually, the documentation will be a bit more difficult. However, as we grow, we want to eventually establish our own MFI so that we can eliminate that middleman and make this take the loans down in interest without hurting either side of our model. So people here in the States investing don't see any reduction in their investment's value. And we're able to make it easier for people in these developing countries to pay back the loans. And once we're at that point, it's going to be very easy to document everything and show these stories to people and have every loan have a picture of the person who's trying to get the loan. So it's more specific.
So the follow-up question is, and what do you think is the timeline to start writing the stories? It seems like what I'm hearing consistently is that's the deliverable. That's the warm fuzzy. You feel good that you're getting from it in addition to the money. So what do you think would need to take place before you can start to deliver that to investors?
So we're working with the MFIs to start to implement that because they don't already have the system in place where they're delivering that because they don't focus as much on the warm fuzzy feeling, even though that's really what they need to focus on. And so we've got, with Martha, we're gonna be able to deliver that. However, we want within the first 3 months to have every loan has some sort of photo and we have stories that are well documented showing what is taking place. And then
So you mentioned that the scenario, somebody spends $2.33 and then the balance, gets invested kind of automatically, like Bank of America. Well, that's a little bit easier if you are the bank and you know that they spent that. Now, how are you going to understand that they spent that money, and how are you going to get a connection and to be able to, take that money basically out or invest it?
So there's a company called Plaid, and what they do is they provide a backend API that you can put on the website. It's incredibly easy to do. And they can aggregate the financial data that you talked about. And this is one of their main purposes, is aggregation of this data and give you very rich feedback on money, what they spent it on, where they spent it. And using that, we'll be able to have very accurate descriptions of their financial history, which is similar to how Mint.com's app works. And so we're going to use the Plaid service.
Okay, one more question.
I just wanted to follow up with that. Does Plaid actually take the money out, or are they required to actually physically make a deposit every time they have a transaction?
No, we're going to use a different service, Wallet. They provide free ACH services, so they don't take money out there. And then some banks will have fees, and so we'll accumulate the money and into one transaction. So it won't be every time you spend money a transaction is made. It'll be once you pay $5 or $10 in your pocket of change.
All right, so last question, what can we as a 1 Million Cups community do for you?
If I don't know a ton about development, I've taught myself as much as I could and I've learned as fast as possible. So if anybody knows more about programming and building web apps and you can help me, that would be amazing. Marketing, there are things that I just don't know. Anything along those lines would be great. I had a prototype that I was hoping to show you guys and get feedback on the user interface, but my laptop is totally messed up, so I can't do that. So it's really just those things, and then anything else you can think of if you are familiar with banks or anything along those lines, and you just have anything you think might help, that would be amazing.
If you do have a prototype that you could show, we could post it and people could.
Okay. Once I get it into a place where it's publicly accessible, I'll send that to you guys.
Cool.
Then, yeah.
Right on, thanks.
Awesome, thanks so much for coming up. Okay, we've just got a couple of announcements. Let's see, Allison just barely left, but she wanted to announce there's this event called Women Who Build. It's at the UVU Sorensen Student Center, Friday, September 9th, 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Breakfast and lunch provided. And I'm just gonna read this because I don't know exactly what it is, but it says, join us for a day of empowerment with industry experts and community leaders speaking on building businesses, promoting women's health and safety, and doing good in our communities. So if you're interested in that, we've got flyers up here, so come grab a flyer. Sounds like a really cool event. Okay, let's see, who else had an announcement? Oh, Bryce, yeah, come on up.
So I work with Campus Founders Fund, and we're a VC fund by students for students. So if you are a student and you have a startup that you are interested in receiving venture capital funding for, we'd love to hear a pitch. Or if you know a student with a startup, send them our way. You can go to campusfounders.com, and there's instructions there for pitching information.
Awesome, thanks, Bryce. One more announcement we've got here in this room. It's about 2 weeks away. It's a Tuesday. I think it's September 13th, if I remember correctly. But We've got a workshop, just a free legal workshop in here. And that's going to be run by Tech Law Ventures. So they'll be in here just talking about how to structure your company so that you don't lose your house if your company does not do well, and they'll be here to answer questions. They've got a lot of experience, especially on kind of the tech side, tech legal stuff. So that'll be a really cool event. Okay, Mark, why don't you come up? We can get you plugged in, ready to go. Any other announcements out there that would be pertinent to this?